After the game in Green Bay, something stood out way more than just the final score. John Harbaugh walked away from that game talking about Derrick Henry in a way almost nobody expected, using strong, direct words that you rarely hear from a coach with that much experience. This wasn't a routine post-game compliment. It was a kind of comment that makes everyone stop and think, wait, this is a big deal. And what makes it even more interesting is the timing. This didn't come in the middle of the season or after some random game. It came in a must-win moment on the road, with the team under pressure and Henry taking over everything. What Harbaugh said afterward completely changes how you look at this performance and says a lot about the real impact of this game. Stick around until the end, because once you understand the weight behind those words, everything clicks. When John Harbaugh spoke after the game, you could immediately tell this wasn't just another standard post-game quote. He wasn't simply praising a solid performance. He sounded like someone who had just witnessed something out of the ordinary right in front of him. The way he described Derrick Henry's night makes it clear this wasn't just a great game. It was one of those performances that forces everyone to stop and pay attention. Harbaugh has been in the NFL for a long time. He's seen everything, coached against historic teams, and gone up against legendary players. That's why when he says it was one of the best performances he's ever seen, it carries serious weight. This isn't emotion, the moment, or exaggeration to hype up the locker room. It's the honest reaction of a coach who knows exactly when something truly stands out. What really jumps out in Harbaugh's words is the mix of surprise and admiration. Derrick Henry didn't just run the ball well. He controlled the entire game, like he was deciding what would happen on every snap. It was the kind of performance that makes a coach fully trust what he's seeing, look out at the field, and think, as long as the ball is in his hands, we're in control. And that impact didn't stop with the final score. You could hear it in Harbaugh's voice, in the way he chose his words, and in how much emphasis he put on what he had just witnessed. Reactions like that don't come out of nowhere. They come from something much bigger than numbers on a stat sheet, and that's exactly why Henry's performance was treated as something special inside the locker room. The moment Harbaugh said it was one of the best performances he's ever seen, everything instantly felt bigger. This isn't just anyone talking. This is a coach who's been to the Super Bowl, coached stars, and faced some of the greatest names in league history. So when someone like that stops and makes a statement like this, it's because he truly saw something different. What makes it even stronger is that Harbaugh didn't try to soften it or choose safer words. He could have said it was a great game or an excellent performance, but he went way beyond that. He put Derrick Henry in a rare category, the kind of performance you don't see every season, and the kind that stays with everyone who watched it. That tells you this wasn't just about efficiency or production in Harbaugh's eyes. It was about impact. It was about watching one player completely take over the game and never let it slip away. Every run, every gain, kept reinforcing the feeling that Henry was playing at a different speed. And when a head coach speaks with that level of conviction, it spreads. It reaches the locker room, the coaching staff, and even people outside the building. Harbaugh's words weren't just praise. They were a clear message that what Henry did deserves to be treated as something rare, almost out of the ordinary. What also stands out is that Harbaugh didn't talk about fancy plays or complicated schemes. He talked about something simple, but incredibly hard to do, dominating a game by running the football and imposing your will on every touch. That's exactly what Derrick Henry did, and Harbaugh recognized it early. For a coach, there's no clearer feeling than looking at the field and knowing the game is in one player's hands. Harbaugh saw that happening. With every carry, Henry pushed the defense back, burned clock, wore the opponent down, and made the game feel comfortable for the Ravens. That's the part that gives the praise even more meaning. This wasn't just explosiveness. It was control. It wasn't just power, it was consistency. Henry delivered the same impact play after play, never giving the Packers a chance to catch their breath or flip the momentum. So when Harbaugh talks about it the way he did, he's acknowledging something every coach dreams of having. A player who turns a game plan into something simple, reliable, and nearly unstoppable. And that's why this performance stood out so much in his eyes.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video. But before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important. because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Another powerful part of Harbaugh's comments is how much total trust they reveal. This doesn't sound like a coach who was surprised by luck. It sounds like someone who watched the plan work exactly the way it was supposed to. By praising Henry the way he did, Harbaugh made it clear he handed the game over to him without hesitation. Even without the starting quarterback, there was no second guessing. The message underneath it all is simple. When Derrick Henry is playing at this level, the offense runs through him and everything gets easier. Harbaugh said that out loud, reinforcing how much this performance validated the decisions made before and during the game. Comments like this also strengthened Henry's role inside the team. This isn't just a player who produced. This is a player the coach trusts when the pressure is on. Harbaugh practically stamped that by treating this performance as something historic. And when a head coach does that, he's not just talking about one game. He's recognizing the impact this kind of performance can have on the rest of the season, the team's mindset, and how the group approaches the challenges ahead. What Harbaugh said about Derrick Henry goes far beyond a simple post-game compliment. The way he spoke, the weight of his words, and the tone of admiration show that this performance went straight onto the short list of moments that stick with a coach throughout his career. It's not every day that someone with his experience makes a point to highlight a player like this. That turns a game into something bigger. Almost a reference point for the team. Something they'll remember whenever they need an example of dominance and commitment. Inside the locker room, this kind of recognition changes the atmosphere. It builds confidence, creates respect, and makes it clear who was at the heart of the win. Harbaugh made sure to say it publicly, without hesitation, and without downplaying the impact. And that's exactly why Derrick Henry's performance doesn't live only in the box score or the final result. Through the coach's own words, it becomes part of the recent history of the Ravens, one of those games that helps define identity and belief when the season reaches its most critical moments. Everything John Harbaugh said after this game makes it clear we're not just talking about a great one-off performance. We're talking about something that stuck with an experienced coach, shifted the mood inside the locker room, and placed Derrick Henry on a special level within this season. When someone who's seen this much football stops and speaks like that, the impact is real, deep, and impossible to ignore. Now, the big question is what this means going forward. Will this game end up being just another result in the standings, or will it be the moment that flips the switch, strengthens the team's identity, and creates full confidence when the biggest decisions have to be made? This is exactly the kind of performance that separates average teams from teams that rise when the pressure hits. And that's where you come into the conversation. After hearing everything Harbaugh said and understanding the weight behind those words, do you think this was the greatest performance Derrick Henry has had with the Ravens, or is there still something even bigger coming down the stretch? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this debate is just getting started, and it's only going to heat up from here.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.